Hello, this is Tyler Blake from Exowhips, and this is going to be a completely different video from anything I've ever done. This is not a fun video for me, this is not instructional or showing off work or anything like that. Today what I want to talk about is something that recently came to my attention, specifically that is a young man by the name of Josh Rhonemus using my name and the names of several other whip makers without our permission for the so-called Circle of Integrity. Okay? So, I found out about this on Monday of last week, and I purposely waited for a while to address it so that I could cool down, because I was piping mad when I found out. Excuse me, I'm still angry about it, but I'm angry and calm now. So, I believe in having a, cool down period and also thinking before one speaks. So, when I've kind of shunned Facebook for a long time. I'm not a big fan of social networking, and lately I've just kind of become convinced that I need to embrace that more. Even though I'm not a fan, it's the way things are now. So anyway, the other day I noticed that a page called Whipmaker's Circle of Integrity had shared one of my pictures that I put up on my Exowhips page. And I thought, oh, that kind of sounds a lot like the Ring of Trust. And, I'm a member of the Ring of Trust. The Ring of Trust was started by my friend Robbie for a specific purpose because we were hearing, and I still hear from people that this happens to, where, people get burned on their first whip, that they buy online, sight unseen. Because, the internet's huge. So... But with the Ring of Trust, we have accountability built in. It serves a specific function. And we're all accountable to each other, so it's not one person running it and he has people that he oversees or anything like that. It's a ring. The Circle of Integrity, as Josh calls it, basically is a scam for him to lump himself in with established professionals to gin up sales. Okay? Now, I'm going to start with the definition of integrity. And one definition that you could easily find is the quality of being honest and having good moral principles, right? On the Circle of Integrity page, he says that the only way to join is to send him a whip, and he'll inspect it, and if it meets his lofty standards, then you become a member. Okay, I didn't send you a whip, Josh. And I don't know everybody on the list, but I do know Rhett, I do know Bobby, and I do know Keanu, so I checked with them, and none of them knew anything about it. So then I dug a little bit further, and the other people on the list were Paul Nolan from Midwest Whips, and Bernardo Del Carpio, and Nick Schrader, who a lot of y'all will be familiar with for his tutorials on YouTube. None of them knew anything about it. So, of all the people that are supposedly members of your circle, none of us gave you permission to use our names. Right? And none of us certainly send you a whip for inspection so we could become members of your circle. So I wouldn't know how else to put it other than it's a scam so that you can lump yourselves in with us and gin up sales. Okay? So, integrity, out the window. If you're saying that we all joined by sending you a whip, that's a lie. I wouldn't know how else to phrase that. Okay, so you don't have integrity. Your circle of integrity is nothing, and you should take the page down, right away, okay? If you're not going to do that, I want my name off of there, tomorrow, okay? And I'm going to check. So, and, see, those of us on that list worked really hard to build up a reputation. With the internet, people are coming to us that don't know us at all. They're taking a chance on our integrity when they buy from us, right? So if and I'm not going to have my reputation dragged down by you, okay? So you do have a reputation also, but unfortunately it's not the reputation of someone that has integrity. I've known about you for a couple years because I'm friends with Rhett and Bobby, and they both told me it was probably about 2 years ago that you were stealing pictures off their websites and putting them up on your website as though it was work that you had done. Okay, so don't even talk about integrity. They both asked you to stop multiple times. Rhett did a video a while back on about you, although he didn't want to name you publicly because he didn't want to damage you forever. And, I understand. I've been told that you're a teenager and all that. So, you're young, people make mistakes. I'll get back to that in a little while, but I feel at this point that not calling you out publicly on this is just going to enable your bad behavior. Okay? So this isn't done from a vitriolic, hateful position. I'm hoping that you take this to heart and use it on a path to self-improvement. Okay, but I'm going to do that at the end of the video. So, I know you by reputation, going back to Rhett and Bobby. Okay, and you've been asking me about where to get Dacron and Wavelace and all that for a while, and I've ignored you because as soon as I saw your name, I thought, oh, geez, I don't have time for that kid. Because the thing is, I know that the second you get a hold of Wavelace, pictures from my website of whips that I worked hard on, are going to end up on your website and you're going to act like you made them. So then, if somebody gets a bad whip from you, they could get confused about, did Tyler make that? And, Tyler's in with that, he's in that association with that Josh kid, and that kid's a hack. So that's why I am not going to be associated with you in any way. Okay? Will not. I made whips for about 10 years before I started selling. There's not a shortcut to skill. People learn faster than that, sure. I know people that have learned way faster than that, but that's how long it took me. So, if you're a kid, you have plenty of time. You need to back off, stop being in such a hurry. I don't necessarily think you're an evil person. I think that you're impatient. I think that you have a sense of entitlement, and I think that you're dishonest. And I think that you want to be a whip maker so bad that you're willing to do anything to get that to happen, and that's not good. That's not how you develop a good reputation for yourself. If you stay on the road you're on now, you're going to have a lousy career as a whip maker or anything else. Because if you don't have that foundation of integrity, nobody's going to want to do business with you at all, in any capacity. Just, plain simple truth. So, I am expecting that you'll probably get really defensive about this, but I'm hoping that you take it to heart. So if you take it to heart, I'm going to give you a roadmap on how you can get to a better place. Okay? So if you want... The whipmaking community is a small, tight-knit group, right? So when you pull these kind of shenanigans, people hear about it. Like I said, I knew about you way before this. So, if you... And you're going to have a harder time building a good reputation than somebody who is just showing up with a blank slate because you have already earned yourself a bad reputation. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is work on developing integrity. But, you need to use that as your foundation for everything else. Right now, you do not have it. Okay? What I suggest would be a good first step for that is that you need to take accountability for all of the things that you've done in this regard, going back to taking pictures from Bobby and Rhett and whoever else. There's probably others that I don't know about. But you need to take accountability for that and apologize to everybody that you've done that to. So, going from taking pictures, even after you've been asked to stop, even after you've received cease and desist letters, okay, up to the circle of integrity nonsense where you're taking our names without our permission, you need to publicly apologize to all of those people. Like, get yourself a camera, put a video up on YouTube and say, I'm turning over a new leaf. I did this, and this to these people, and I'm sorry for it. And I'm working on doing better. Okay. That's the first step. If you do that, it's going to take a while for us to believe it. Okay, so the next thing you need to do is keep your nose clean for a couple of years. Like I'm saying 2 to 5 years. If you apologize to me and then the next day ask me where to get Dacron, still no deal, right? So in that 2 to 5 year period or however long, you just need to practice your trade, right? There are books and videos on how to make whips that you can get. So, and some of the people I contacted about the Circle of Integrity business said, oh yeah, that kid's always asking me how to do strand drops and this and that. If you're still trying to figure out strand drops, you are nowhere near ready to sell. Okay? The other thing is that if you're taking pictures off of other people's websites, that tells me that you are nowhere near ready to sell. Because if you were up to the level of being able to sell to other people, if you're going to accept money from people for something that you made, you need to have a high level of craftsmanship. If you had that, you would have pictures of your own work on your website. Okay, and, don't you want to have stuff that you can be proud of instead of just stuff that you ripped off, right? So you just need to start practicing. Don't sell any of it. You finish a whip, keep it to refer back to later, and say, "Hey, I did better than that this time," or give it to a friend or something like that, right? But don't take people's money for stuff that's substandard. And just start experimenting with things, because those of us who are established professionals, we had to figure out a lot of stuff on our own. Just those of us that work with paracord, most of us learned from a book that's geared towards leather, and we had to experiment. So if you do that and you start figuring some stuff out for yourself, you can take that and put it in your pocket as something to be proud of when hey, I figured that out for myself, right? And just every time, or maybe, hey, you know what, nobody else is doing it this way and I just figured out this really cool thing. That's something that you can be proud of. You should aspire to that instead of just copying other people's work or stealing other people's ideas and or their names and intellectual property. So, and you need to just hone your craft, because right now you're not ready. And then after a couple of years go by, then you can reintroduce yourself to the community at large and say, hey, I did that thing. This is the work I'm doing now. Put up pictures of your own work. And, you need to figure some of that stuff out on your own. Okay? And I think that's probably the best thing for you. So, that's about all that I have to say on the subject. But bottom line, I'm not associated with Josh Rhonemus, so Josh, take my name off of your Facebook page. I strongly think that you need to take that down, since none of us gave you our permission. But for my part, I'm saying take my name off. Okay. I'm going to put this on my own Facebook page. I'm going to put it on my website, and this video is going to be up on YouTube. So, the cat's out of the bag, and I hope that you take this to heart, and I hope that in a few years, you can come back and be a more well-rounded person who is able to take some pride in the stuff that you're doing for yourself. Okay.